Hey everyone, did you know that over 90% of you watching right now haven't hit that subscribe button? If you enjoy our content, take a second to subscribe. It's free and it really helps us keep bringing you great stories every day. Caleb Hartley was the kind of man who lived by systems. A measuring tape in one hand, a wrench in the other, grease under his nails, and a quiet orderliness in his eyes. He worked long shifts at the local water treatment plant, came home to a modest two-story home in the quiet suburbs of Pine Hollow, and watered his lawn like it was sacred. His wife, Naomi, was different. Lively, bright, always surrounded by people. A fitness instructor who laughed easily and moved like a woman who knew she was being watched. Not that Caleb ever said that. He believed in giving space, in trust. But everything changed the day Caleb got a voice message. A short one. Just a few seconds. He was changing out of his overalls when the notification buzzed. Unknown number. Curiosity made him press play. The voice was hushed, rushed, almost like it wasn't meant for him. Hey babe, can't stop thinking about last night. Let's run together again tomorrow. Same spot, same time. Naomi doesn't suspect a thing. Then a chuckle. Male, confident. Caleb didn't move for a long moment. He just stood there, phone in one hand, breath shallow. That wasn't a joke. That wasn't a wrong number. That was a man talking about his wife. Still, he didn't react. Not outwardly. Caleb had the kind of patience that made people underestimate him. Instead of confronting Naomi, he archived the message. Labeled it Voicemail 1. Quietly, deliberately. That night at dinner, he listened to her laugh about the new yoga program at the studio. Her salad barely touched, her skin glowing. Anyone new at the gym? Caleb asked, voice level. Naomi shrugged. New people come and go every week. You know how it is. He nodded and finished his bite. Just wondering. Later, she fell asleep scrolling through her phone. Caleb waited until her breathing turned rhythmic, then slipped out of bed. The phone wasn't locked. She'd never needed to lock it before. Her message threads were surprisingly clean. Almost too clean. But her gallery told a different story. A few blurred photos of trail runs, a man's shoulder in one frame, a wine glass in another clinked against hers under filtered lights. Caleb took screenshots, transferred them quietly, organized them into folders labeled by date. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. Caleb wasn't built for outbursts. He was built for slow, methodical responses. The next day, he called in sick. Instead, he drove to a quiet corner of the suburbs where his old friend Nate, a retired private investigator, still kept an office. Nate hadn't seen Caleb in years. You look like hell, Nate muttered, sipping cold coffee. Caleb handed him a flash drive. I need names, times, patterns, discretion. Nate raised an eyebrow but didn't ask more than he needed to. Okay, but you might not like what you find. I already don't, Caleb said simply. Over the next few weeks, Caleb began piecing it all together. Naomi's gym friends, 3 other women, all married, were part of the same tightly woven circle. They met regularly, long runs, weekend retreats, supposed couples workouts where the husbands were never actually present. What Caleb's PI found was worse than he expected. The affair wasn't an isolated incident. It was an entire system, a social cover for discrete affairs between fitness instructors, their clients, and even a few married residents of their neighborhood. Caleb watched hours of footage, Naomi meeting a man at a secluded park, hugging too long, laughing with that brightness she used to save just for him. And still, he said nothing. At home, Caleb was affectionate, steady, normal. Naomi, perhaps feeling safe, leaned in more. She kissed him longer in the mornings, left her phone out on the counter without thinking. She didn't realize she was being watched now. Every message, every errand, every new contact logged and saved. Caleb even installed a discreet camera in their garage, where she sometimes took calls for work. There, late one evening, he watched as she whispered on the phone, twirling her hair and calling someone handsome. It was a strange feeling. Watching his own life unfold from the outside, like he'd become a spectator in the house he paid for. But Caleb wasn't broken. No, he was planning. He created a timeline, a literal map. Naomi and her friends, their movements, their partners. The men who had no idea their lives were being hollowed out while they grilled burgers or mowed lawns. And when he had enough, when every message, every photo, every meeting had been documented, he smiled for the first time in weeks. The idea had come to him while mowing the lawn. Fitting, really. A barbecue. A nice one. A get-together for Naomi's gym circle? Bring the husbands, bring the kids. Laughter, food, lawn chairs. Caleb began to prepare. He borrowed a projector from work, set up a white screen in the backyard under the guise of playing family movies, bought new lights, cleaned the patio, set up the smoker like it was any other neighborhood get-together. Naomi was thrilled. She hadn't seen Caleb this upbeat in months. "This is sweet," she said, kissing him on the cheek. "You never want to host." "Thought it was time," he said, "for everyone to get to know each other better." She smiled. "You're full of surprises lately." He smiled back. "You have no idea." The invitations went out. Paper ones, hand-delivered by Caleb himself. He made sure the husbands would be there. One by one, they confirmed. Caleb noted it all. Nate helped print glossy copies of every photo, edited together a discreet yet undeniable video. The final week before the barbecue, Caleb barely slept. Not from nerves, but anticipation. Naomi was in a bright mood, helping organize desserts and decorations. Caleb watched her hum to herself in the kitchen, and he realized he wasn't doing this out of rage. Not really, he just wanted the truth. Laid bare, in front of everyone. Let the illusion break, let the masks fall. And as the barbecue day approached, the weather forecast promised clear skies. But for the people about to gather in Caleb's backyard, the storm hadn't even begun. The morning of the barbecue dawned cool and blue, with just enough breeze to carry the scent of charcoal and cut grass through the quiet neighborhood of Pine Hollow. Birds chirped, sprinklers hissed. Everything looked perfect from the outside, and that was exactly how Caleb wanted it. He was already up before sunrise, marinating meat and arranging the chairs in precise rows. The projector sat coiled under a tarp in the corner of the backyard, cables wound tight. The screen, just a white pull-down shade nailed to the side of the shed, looked like it belonged there, like any other backyard movie setup. Naomi floated through the kitchen in leggings and a tank top, sipping coffee and nibbling toast. "You sure you don't want help setting up?" she asked, brushing hair behind her ear. "I've got it," Caleb said with a warm smile. "Just relax. You deserve it." She beamed. "Well, you've definitely been full of surprises lately." He leaned in and kissed her on the forehead. "Just wanted to show a little appreciation. To you. To everyone." Naomi returned the kiss, unaware of the flicker in his eyes, the kind of flicker a flame gets just before it spreads. By 3 p.m., the guests began arriving. First came Liz and Jordan, Liz being one of Naomi's closest friends from the gym. Then came Tessa and her husband Paul, followed by Brielle and her partner Marcus. All of them smiling, laughing, carrying side dishes and drinks, waving to Caleb like he was their favorite neighbor. He greeted each one kindly, even shook hands, held eye contact, offered beers. He wore a calm that felt just barely off, too calm if you looked closely. But no one did. They were all too busy admiring the patio setup and making small talk. Naomi was in her element, hugging everyone, introducing husbands to one another, making sure no one's drink was empty. She didn't notice how Caleb occasionally checked his watch, or how he seemed to linger a little longer by the shed. By 5 p.m., the food was done. Plates full, everyone gathered under the string lights Caleb had hung between trees. Laughter rolled easy across the yard, the kind that sounds real until you know what's buried beneath it. Caleb stood up, clinking a fork against a glass. "Appreciate everyone coming out," he began, tone steady. "It's been a rough couple of months, and this just felt overdue." A few murmurs of agreement. Jordan raised his drink. Naomi wrapped her arm around Caleb's. "I thought we could end the evening with something special," Caleb continued. "A little movie night, kind of a tribute to this neighborhood, the people in it, the moments we share." Naomi tilted her head, surprised. "What kind of movie?" Caleb smiled. "You'll see." He walked to the projector, uncoiled the wires with a calm precision. As he worked, a few people whispered and laughed behind their hands, assuming he was about to show an old home movie or an embarrassing wedding montage. When the screen blinked to life, everyone turned their chairs toward it. The ambient chatter fell to a hush. The first image was a photo. Naomi and her 3 friends standing at the top of a trail, sun behind them. It was the kind of shot that might sit on a fridge. Perfect smiles. Filtered light. Then came the second photo, same group, but with small, subtle changes. A hand resting too comfortably on someone else's waist. A look exchanged between Naomi and a man not in the photo's title. Caleb's voice came through the speakers. Not live, but recorded. Calm. Neutral, almost clinical. "These are the women of Pine Hollow Fitness," he narrated, known for their commitment to health, community, and secrecy. The next slide appeared. A short video clip, Naomi's voice, faint but clear. "Let's meet early. Caleb's working overtime." The room was silent. Naomi stood up abruptly. "Caleb, what is this?" He didn't answer, just pressed play on the next segment. More footage, carefully cropped, non-explicit but undeniable. Naomi meeting a man in a car. Liz laughing over wine with someone who wasn't her husband. Tessa's voice whispering promises over a voice message. Then came the screen. A digital map. Names, dates, locations, every meeting documented, every lie timestamped. Naomi took a step forward, face pale. This is out of context." "No, it's not," Paul muttered from the other side of the patio, staring hard at Tessa. A slow realization began to ripple through the group. Jordan stood up, his plate clattering to the ground. "What the hell is this, Liz?" She didn't answer. No one did. The web had been exposed, thread by thread. Caleb let the video run for 2 more minutes, just enough to stitch everything together. No shouting, no accusations, just the cold quiet of truth spreading across picnic tables and lawn chairs. When the screen went dark, he stepped forward. "I didn't do this out of anger," he said, looking around the group. "I did it because I wanted everyone to see what's been happening in broad daylight. Right here, among friends, neighbors." Naomi was shaking now. "You humiliated me. You humiliated yourself," he said softly. "I just stopped pretending not to notice." The husbands began to move, some standing in disbelief, others pacing. One by one, they turned to the women beside them, questions in their eyes. The women, stunned, had no answers, no more smiles. The masks had fallen, and beneath them was something quieter, something exposed. "I invited all of you here today," Caleb continued, "so no one would have to keep lying, not to each other, not to yourselves." He stepped down from the projector area, unhooking the cables. The breeze moved through the trees again, louder than the silence between the couples. Naomi followed him into the house a few minutes later. "You planned all of this?" she asked, voice trembling. Caleb turned to her. "Every detail." Tears welled in her eyes, but he didn't offer comfort. He simply looked at her. For the first time in years, really looked. "What happens now?" she whispered. Caleb exhaled. "That's up to you." He left her standing there, shoulders sinking, in the home they once built together. Outside, guests began leaving one by one, quietly, uncomfortably. A few offered Caleb a nod. A few didn't look back. That night, Caleb didn't sleep much. He sat outside in the dark yard, the empty chairs still scattered like debris from a storm. He didn't feel joy or peace, just the weight of truth, heavy but clean. The web had been cut, but what came next would be a new story entirely. The morning after the barbecue, Pine Hollow was quieter than usual. The street, once known for its friendliness and neighborly charm, felt like a stage after the curtains had closed. Folding chairs still leaned against fences. Paper plates and napkins, half blown by the breeze, dotted the grass like forgotten confetti. Caleb stood at the kitchen window, sipping coffee in silence. Naomi's car was still in the driveway, but she hadn't come downstairs yet. They hadn't spoken since the final guest left. He didn't expect her to. There wasn't much left to say. By noon, he began cleaning up the yard. He took his time wiping down tables, coiling up the extension cord from the projector, and packing the screen into the garage. Every motion was careful, deliberate, like a man rebuilding something from ruins. Neighbors peeked from windows. Some looked away when he caught their eye. A few nodded politely. Others didn't know what to do. Caleb wasn't sure if he cared. It wasn't about them. Later that afternoon, Naomi came out onto the porch, hair pulled back, sunglasses hiding her eyes. "Do you want to talk?" she asked, voice small. Caleb looked up from the deck chair he was fixing. "About what?" She sat on the steps. "Anything. Everything." A beat passed, then two. "I think we passed that exit a long time ago," he said quietly. She didn't respond, just stared out across the lawn. "I don't know why it happened," she finally whispered. "It wasn't just about that." "I know," Caleb said. And he did. Somewhere deep down, he'd understood this wasn't just a random betrayal. It was something slow and invisible that had crept between them. Unnoticed at first, then normal. "I felt unseen," Naomi said. "I don't say that to excuse it. I felt that way too," Caleb said. "But I didn't betray you for it." She swallowed hard. "I know." Another long silence. "I should leave," she added. "Give you space." Caleb nodded, not in anger, just resignation. "I think that's best." She left that evening, not dramatically. No bags thrown into a car, no screaming down the street, just a single suitcase and a quiet goodbye. Caleb stood in the doorway, watching her go. He didn't wave. He didn't cry. When the taillights disappeared, he simply closed the door. The days that followed were filled with quiet routines, the kind of stillness that doesn't feel like peace, but at least isn't chaos. He returned to work. His coworkers said nothing directly, but he felt the way their conversations hesitated around him. Nate checked in once or twice. Caleb appreciated it but didn't say much. News of the barbecue had spread, quietly, in whispers, in glances. The other husbands had all reacted differently. Jordan moved out a week later. Paul was trying to work it out, according to someone. Marcus. No one really knew what happened with him. And the women? They stopped posting online. The gym circle dissolved almost overnight. Classes were canceled. Naomi's friends vanished from the neighborhood sidewalks where they used to jog every morning. Caleb was left in a place both broken and untouched. The house was still clean. The lawn still green. But nothing felt like it did before. One evening, weeks later, he walked to the garage and pulled out the folder, the one with all the footage, the maps, the screenshots. He flipped through it slowly. At the very back was the original voice message, the one that started it all. He played it again, just once. The voice sounded distant now, hollow, like an echo of someone else's life. He deleted it. Then, one by one, he deleted everything else. The folders, the emails, the footage. He watched it disappear from the screen like dust caught in a breeze. It wasn't forgiveness, not exactly. It was just release. That fall, Caleb began volunteering on Saturdays. Quiet, simple work at the local community center. Fixing plumbing, hanging shelves. One of the women who ran the place, Evelyn, was a widow. Smart, quiet, sharp eyes. She didn't ask about his past. He didn't offer it. They talked about books instead, about how the neighborhood had changed, about which trees turned the brightest red in October. One evening as he was leaving, she said, "You seem like someone who's been through something." Caleb paused, then nodded. "I have." "Well," she said, smiling gently, "you wear it better than most." He didn't know why that stayed with him, but it did. Months later, when the first snow fell, Caleb walked out onto his porch and watched it dust the neighborhood in white. Clean, cold, quiet. The houses looked peaceful again. But he knew better. Pine Hollow would never be the same. Not really. But maybe, just maybe, that wasn't such a bad thing. Because in the ruins of what had been, Caleb had found something more honest, more grounded. A life stripped of illusion, no more pretending, no more masks. And as he turned to go back inside, he realized something he hadn't felt in a long time. he was free.